This resource was developed in 2024 by the Nita M. Lowy 21st Century Community Learning Center's 21st CCLC National Technical Assistance Center, NTAC, funded under a grant from the U.S. Department of Education Department and administered by Synergy Enterprises Incorporated under Cooperative Agreement Number 287E230009 with the Department's Office of Elementary and Secondary Education. Opinions expressed herein do not necessarily reflect the position or policy of the Department, nor does mention of trade names, commercial products, or organizations imply endorsement by the Department or the federal government. This resource is in the public domain and is available at 21stcclcntech.org. Authorization to reproduce it in whole or in part is granted. Welcome to the 21st CCLC National Technical Assistance Center's quarterly program, Learning in a Virtual Environment, live. Highlighting relevant topics in 21st CCLC out-of-school time programming, special guests from the field, upcoming technical assistance, and website features. Let's get started with today's 21st CCLC NTech Live. Here are your hosts, Hillary and Chaz.
Thank you, Dave, and welcome to Learning in a Virtual Environment. Our session today is Voices of Many, Enriching Out-of-School Time Programs with Multilingual Learners, where we will learn from technical assistance team, experts, and program leaders. My name is Hillary Jones, and I am a senior TA liaison with the U.S. Department of Education's National Technical Assistance Team. Today, I am joined by Chaz, TA liaison.
Welcome, everyone, on behalf of NTAC. I'd like to introduce the NTAC partnership between the U.S. Synergy Foundations and the 21st CCLC is here to support SEA coordinators and professionals in the knowledge and programs and their to build lasting success. 21st CCLC provides evidence-based and professional learning opportunities to support underserved youth and their. Thank you for joining us, everyone.
After this session, you will be able to begin creating an inclusive environment for multilingual learners in your program. You'll learn to implement strategies for engaging multilingual immigrant and migrant families. And you'll have strategies to create a culture of tolerance and acceptance in your program. So, Chaz, as we get started, would you like to introduce our guests for today?
I'd be glad to. Joining us today are Maru Castaneda, Family Engagement Specialist from Fort Worth, Texas. Maru, can you tell us a little bit about your program and the context?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today with you and share all this information that I have. And well, my name is Maria Eugenia Castañeda. Everybody call me Maru. It's easy and it's short. And I work for the 21st Century Family as a family engagement specialist in the Forward After School program here in Texas. And well, I am a coordinator for 10 schools, 5 high schools, and 5 middle schools in the district.
That's quite the challenge you have. Can't wait to hear more about it. All right, so next let's introduce Marcy Richards, 21st Century Program Manager and Director, and Alaska Deeds statewide 21st CCLC mentor in Anchorage School District. Marcy, can you tell us a little bit about where you're located and about the youth that you serve?
Sure, thanks for having us today. We're very excited to be included. I'm in Anchorage, Alaska, and we serve about 1,000 students in 21st Century for Anchorage School District, and we are a refugee state, so we have over 100 languages spoken in Anchorage School District. Most of our schools have at least 20 languages spoken in each school. And so if I can very quickly, love to share my screen just so that you can see the demographic makeup of that. So this is our, can everybody see the screen? Okay, good.
We gotcha.
Okay, thank you. So this is our ethnicity breakup for just 21st century and Anchorage School District. So you can see we are not really any one thing. We are pretty split. I know whenever I speak with my colleagues, for example, in Texas or Arizona, it's largely, Latinx and English speaking, and we speak so many different languages. In fact, here is a list of our over 100 languages that are spoken. So it does become a bit of a challenge here. So yeah, that is us. Okay.
So much. Now let's introduce Danielle Slaughter. She's an elementary school. She's an elementary teacher at Pine Road Elementary in Lower Moreland. So Danielle, can you tell us a little bit about your school district, the context that you work in?
Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be here today. I teach first grade at Pine Road Elementary School, and we are in Lower Moreland School District. We are a relatively small suburban district. We only have one elementary school, one middle school, one high school, but we do serve a very large population of multilingual learners. We have 44 non-English languages represented in our school district, and about half our population identifies with a language other than English. So my job is first grade teacher, and I work to teach all these children.
Great minds here with incredible experience, and can't wait to you all contribute. So if any of you have any questions during the presentation, please put them in the Q&A box and we'll address them later in the session. But right now, Hillary, let's get started.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to having more conversation. So Chaz, did you know that as of 2019, according to the U.S. Census, upwards of 68 million people in the United States were speaking a language other than English in their homes? According to this data, as no surprise, Spanish is the most common non-English language spoken at home, but we've also seen an increase in other languages, including Chinese, Tagalog, Vietnamese, Arabic, and Spanish Creole, not to mention many other languages spoken in Native communities across the country. And so when we think about our diversity and equity in our programs, we need to think about our attitude and approach to the inclusion of multilingual learners to ensure that every person, regardless of culture or background, can meaningfully participate. This includes immigrant and migrant populations.
Yes, Hillary. We all benefit from diverse representation of cultures. True inclusion allows all youth to share their cultures and develop a sense of belonging through building relationships outside of their family, particularly with their peers, developing knowledge of support systems, and having regular access to their community. It's important to remember that multilingual students are regularly exposed to and are continually developing proficiency in multiple languages. This includes students who are learning English as well as multiple language learners, or MLLs. MLLs could be coming into our programs as students who have experienced more traditional education settings in other languages than English. Or this could be their first experience altogether in this kind of setting. So we need to recognize and keep awareness of where students are coming from academically and what they may already know at the forefront. A language barrier does not equate to a lack of knowledge. To the contrary, MLLs bring with them a wealth of knowledge and rich cultural backgrounds that can greatly add to your program communities.
That's right, Chaz. And being part of a community and accepted by others is a basic human need. According to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which identifies 5 basic human needs, one of our innate needs is belongingness. We as humans need to feel belonging in our lives. To belong is to be accepted, and this is a vital stage for students of any age and background to be able to learn. But to build that sense of belonging in your programs, we must include and celebrate students' cultures. Not just the cultures of your multilingual learners, but of everyone. This teaches everyone about acceptance and helps prepare students to thrive in a diverse way. It also helps develop a greater awareness of one another and helps students with different backgrounds and needs feel that they belong. In fact, the Dalai Lama once said, accepting others' differences is the first step towards building a more inclusive and compassionate world.
That's right.
And that's a world I want to be part of.
Me too. And so we would like to kick off today's conversation by hearing from you, our audience. So take a moment to think about a time when you went somewhere new and you felt immediately connected or included. What made you feel that way? Feel free to share in the chat. While you take a moment to share in the chat, I'll share my personal experience. So I'm rather new to the NTAC team, and I can't tell you how welcome and included I've already felt here. Just with all of our processes for making me, feel part of the team. And I mean, if we're being completely honest, I'm in a production studio in Dave Maz's basement right now. And so there are very few things that make you feel more included than something like that, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
There's Dave.
But, it's true, Chaz. When people make the space for you and take time to make you feel welcome, it's such a meaningful part of what you do. We were talking about this earlier, and I shared a little bit about an opportunity I had to work with program directors across the nation who are running out-of-school time programs and 21st CCLC programs, and work to develop some policies and strategies around some things that we were facing in my organization. And really, when I went and joined that group, I was somebody who I felt like I had much less experience than a lot of the other people on the team. I had much less to bring to the table. But really, that group made me feel welcomed and made me feel like my ideas and what I had to offer was valuable. And it made me more confident in sharing my voice. And so I'm guessing that we have a lot of those same kind of comments from our audience. We see Brittany says that she started a new position in a midst of dramatic life change, a birthday coming up, and she had her new teammates surprise her with birthday food. So that's meaningful, right? Those places where you say, here, let's be welcoming, let's include you.
Absolutely. I hope there was cake.
Brittany, you'll tell us whether there was cake or not.
Answer in the chat.
The thing is that we all bring unique experiences and characteristics with us to our work, to our programs. And this is true of our multilingual students too, and their families. They bring their individual cultures and backgrounds to our programs. For inclusive out-of-school time programming to be successful, everyone involved must adopt a new way of thinking about youth from different cultures, multilingual learners, and how they're being served. Identifying multilingual learners' needs and helping staff be prepared to support them is more than just providing translation and interpretation services. There are many strategies that you can use that are additive to your program and that enrich your students' academic success. And we're going to talk about some of them today.
Absolutely. So one of the first things that you can do to connect with professionals, such as the language support staff from your school day. If you're fortunate enough to have such a person, you can reach out to while you're working with your MLMs in your program, take advantage of it. They could provide keen insights into the best practices, specific student strengths and needs, or even engaging with their families. That kind of resource may not be available to many programs, but that doesn't mean that you're out of options. It will be important to familiarize yourself with different language learning methods, such as audiolingual learning or total physical response. It's through strategies like these that we can support MLL growth and learning while helping them develop their English language skills as well. For those of you who are not familiar with these methods, audiolingual learning, or ALM, focuses on repetition, patterns, drills, and imitation to strengthen language structures. In out-of-school time, this can look like listening and repeating or using routine and repetitive language to support understanding of students.
Absolutely. And TPR, or total physical response, connects language with physical actions. It's the equivalent of saying something and doing it at the same time. So students associate the word or phrase with a movement or action. So for a simple example, you can teach the word running with the physical act of running. This method provides a strong foundation in vocabulary and comprehension through kinesthetic learning. We can use these methods to ensure student comprehension while working with them in our programs, as well as with homework to further support their English language development. You know, Chaz, one of the things that sometimes we forget about the benefit of out-of-school time programs is it provides a space for many of our students where they're getting English language immersion. Immersion is one of the most effective ways to teach another language. And for many of our students, they are English language learners, and they're trying to develop those skills so they can be successful in school and in other places. And we create a unique opportunity for that in our programs just by doing the regular things that we're already doing. The second thing that sometimes out-of-school time programs don't recognize about these English language learners specifically is that they may benefit and will benefit from the input that they're receiving. To learn a language, you need to receive significantly more input, that is, listening and reading of that language, before you can produce the language, before you can speak it or write it. And out-of-school time programs create space and give opportunities for that input that especially students who are English language learners may benefit from to help improve their English language skills. So, in addition to these methods, we can also implement strategies for including different cultures of our students to create that sense of belonging by building relationships with our multilingual students and by being intentional about learning about their culture. For example, Francina said that they felt most welcomed when they hear Spanish being spoken, and it really does create some of that space. And so, although we recognize not every out-of-school time program has the ability to support all of the languages, the many languages like Marcy has, that students may have, but when we can create those space and being intentional about creating learning spaces, about being welcoming and promoting those cooperative interactions that celebrate and acknowledge diversity in your programs, and adapting activities to include your multilingual students and their cultures, we can incorporate these culturally relevant activities to not only support their learning, but to increase their sense of belonging. For example, you could have an activity where students share their favorite foods from home that are from their culture or community. And you could build on this by having students analyze the recipes, building grocery lists, as well as a budget for preparing those dishes. It could be a great project-based learning activity to have them acquire the items and even make the food together, Chaz.
That sounds like a great opportunity, and it sounds delicious.
Mm-hmm.
So we can also support cross-cultural connections in our programs by making sure MLLs do not self-isolate, or that students are self-selecting groups that exclude MLLs. Many of these ideas and suggestions were sourced from the California School Aids Consortium through the California After School Network. Their training series, developed amid COVID-19, is a great place to learn about these strategies and you can find out more by using the link in the chat box.
So now it's time to hear a little bit from our guests today. We're going to start with Maru. And so, Maru, my first question for you is, how do you make sure that all youth and families feel welcomed and included in your program?
Well, first of all, we train our site coordinators to be prepared to all kind of people, to bring, they made them feel welcome. Every time, every meeting that we have is repeated. They need to know that they work with this diversity population in their programs, and this is very important. The second one is that grade the children all the time, grade the children, no matter what. Say good morning, good afternoon, bye, simple words. The other one that I have is like, be physically present. Sometimes me as a family engagement specialist, people, because I am the only family engagement specialist for 10 schools, so sometimes I cannot be there in each school every time. But when I visited, I want to be sure that I say, you know what, this is my name, and as an immigrant, I can understand their barriers. I can understand what are the challenges. I understand what their feelings. So I try to make them feel welcome. I try to make them feel that they will have support from us. We offer ESL classes. We offer different kind of resources for the families. But what you said is very important. We need to have, we need to be sure that the people feel the sense of belonging in the school. Some people, sometimes they visit the school and they say, nobody pay attention to me. They don't know my name. They don't know even how many children I have. Well, this is the point. To be sure that everything is perfect. Also, my last point, to be sure that everything is okay, we have a surveys. After each meeting or each event, family event, we send surveys for the parents and students and ask them, how do you feel? Do you feel welcome in the meeting? Do you feel welcome in this event? What do you suggest to improve these meetings in your school? So that helps us to improve every time that we have this contact with families and students in the school.
Maru, so what are some of the things you've heard families say on those surveys?
Well, sometimes they said, I feel shame because I don't speak the English language, of course. But they said, well, I feel welcome for this teacher. I feel like sometimes I am not in the position to say hello to everybody because I don't speak English. Or I feel they feel, in the survey, because they are anonymous, so they don't write their names. They are express what exactly they feel. And definitely the position for the people who doesn't speak the English language, they feel fears that they said, oh, how I will show up, how can I communicate with the staff, with the teachers, with the people in the after school program and in the school. So when we see this one, we put in more in, we try to put in their shoes. Okay, this happened. So what we can do, we as a program, we have a meetings and say, okay, let's go to have some ideas. What kind of activities we can do with these families and to make them feel integrate in the school. So, and that's very helpful for us because we can try to build some classes, events, or something to help them. Yes, ma'am.
No, that's very helpful. So I want to ask you to think a little bit about the students and what benefits do you see for the students who are not multilingual learners that they get as a result of getting to know the cultures or even maybe a little language of multilingual students?
Well, the foreign language students enhance the listening skills because all the students, they have to listen in better because they have to pay attention what they're saying and actually increase memory for the students, analytical abilities for the students, and also they have improved their social skills. Because when they try to make connection with others, they try to see, they have to make a very, very good connections each other. And it's easy for the students as a young people than adults. Adults, we are more shy. We have no very easy to integrate with other parents, but students is easy. So when they see that there's something in common, probably football, soccer, probably they don't speak, but they play together. So that social skills is what we pretend or we are looking for, because this is the way that we are going to start. That's a good beginning for us. So it's what I'm seeing in the program.
Yeah. No, that's wonderful. So you talked a little bit about this, but talk to me a little bit more about how you prepare staff to create an inclusive environment for program youth.
Well, what we started last year, we have a multicultural event where everybody in the school participate, because in this school, in some schools where I work, they are more Spanish speakers because the area where they live, but there are some areas where we have a different languages. And isn't even, I don't speak Haitiano or something like that. So we are going to learn as well. So how incorporate and how help the staff to integrate in this? Well, we had this multicultural event where every culture, different culture with different language, set up a table with some stuffs in their country, and what one of the staff says, and I think it was a great idea, because you say something like to make feel welcome to the parents is just to greet the parents, greet the students. But we don't know their language. So they made some little cards with hi and bye and thank you. So they, every time that every staff visit each table, the students, they give the card and they say thank you, but with their language, and they pronounce. So everybody learned 3 different languages to say hello, thank you, and what is the other one? It's hi, hello, and thank you, or something like that. But it was 3 cards. They love it because everybody communicate. Now at least know that the staff will connect with the parents, that they don't speak the language, but at least they will feel welcome every morning or every afternoon when they said bye. And the other way to help the staff is like the books. We have books with different language. Sometimes are bilingual. Of course, there are more Spanish, English, Spanish books, but we assist the staff to bring all these books to the students, and we have enrichment activities. The staff participate with the students in these enrichment activities. They feel more comfortable when they feel relaxed, so they have the opportunity to connect more with the students and the students with other students at the same time.
There's so much that can be gained through putting a little effort in to learn a word or a phrase in someone else's language, and that can be so meaningful to people.
Absolutely. It's incredible how what seem like little things add up to creating a really inclusive environment. It feels welcome. So let's check in with Danielle and hear a little bit about what she's doing and her wonderful. So Danielle, how do you make sure that all youth and families feel welcomed and included in your?
So I do have to say, district-wide, I think my district does a very nice job, really starting at the beginning of the year, trying to organize events that include families, not just the children. So we have a classroom teacher meet and greet. This is new in the, I think, post-COVID, but they now do a back-to-school picnic. And this is where it is just families to come. They have food trucks, they have activities, and it's for the kids to really get to know each other, for the families to get to know each other, and really work on building those relationships from day one. Throughout the year, we have family engagement nights. Some of them are specific for our multilingual families. Some of them are just for, fun activities to really include everybody. But one of the really big things that I think my district does well is our communication. We make sure that there's communication coming from not only the teachers, but from the schools, from the district. We have meetups with the principal, so parents can come in and they meet with the principal, and it's very laid back, and they just talk, they share ideas. We have something also that's pretty new. We have a buddy family program where any family that's new to the district can sign up and they can be assigned a buddy family. And of course, if we have a family who speaks a language other than English, we try to buddy them up so that they have a family that, they're their go-to people, so they can help, if they have questions about things that are going on in the district. And then another thing that we added a few years ago, which has been a game changer, it's been great with communication, is our district, we adopted the talking points. It's an app, it's a website, but what it is, it's a communication platform for teachers and parents, for messages for the whole district. But the great thing about it is it translates whatever I type. It's almost like I'm texting. It can translate anything I'm saying into whatever language the parents choose. They can do it on a website. It can come up as an app on their phone. But this has made my communication with the families of multilingual learners so much stronger, because I'm the first person they come to, because they can shoot me it comes through as a text. They can ask me a question which would otherwise be difficult to figure out or difficult to translate. And I absolutely love it. I share pictures, activities, what we're doing in the classroom, and it has been wonderful for communication with families.
I don't know if you just saw our faces, but the buddy system, more people need to be thinking about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, isn't that great?
That is a great way to drive. That is really useful, not just for the multilingual learner students, their families, but for the families that might not speak multi. So tell me, Danielle, what do you think some of the benefits are for students that aren't multilingual as they learn from and they get to know cultures of multi?
I mean, I really think just developing an understanding of the different cultures is so beneficial. I mean, number one, just making connections and realizing, oh, this is just like something that we do in my family, and it helps build those relationships between the students. It helps them realize that we are the same in so many ways. I also think it's important because it helps us to be more empathetic, to understand why things are being done, or maybe how people feel about certain things, and ultimately build tolerance. And we talk about that in my district, that our goal is to really have our students be able to thrive in an interconnected world, because that's what we all need to do. So we start them young, and we just expose them to as much as we can.
And I know that you've touched on quite a bit of this in your. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you and your district support a culture of inclusivity for multilingual students?
So one thing that you'll notice, whether you walk into a building in the district or you walk into a classroom, you are going to notice that there's representation of different cultures. Sometimes it's with the bulletin boards or posters, or even if it is the graphics used in a lesson, we make sure that we have representation everywhere. And I think that's really important for students to connect to. We have, in the past few years, it has been a really big effort to make sure that we have diverse classroom libraries. So in our classroom, in our reading budget each year, we have a certain allotment for books, and our big push is to make sure that we have diverse books so that the students can see themselves, the whole windows and mirrors. So they want to see themselves in the stories that they read. We want them to see other cultures in the stories that they read and they hear. Another big thing in my district that we've done is we've moved from more of a pull-out model for our English language learners, and we're shifting more into an inclusive model where we try to have the children stay in the classroom as much as we can, and then we bring support in, whether it's assistants or English language teachers, and we really try to keep the children with their peers as much as we can. And then I know Mauro talked about this too, but one of the biggest things we have in our district is we have a multicultural night, which is like, I mean, the Met Gala of school events. It is something the kids talk about all year. They start preparing for it. It's in the spring, but they start talking about it in winter, and whether they're going to perform something, they have an opportunity to perform something. They could wear a special outfit from their culture. They share foods, and it really is just a fantastic night, a positive experience. My kids come to it because they absolutely love it.
Sounds like not only a great way to build inclusivity, but also just a fun time. Like something I want to do.
Right. I just want to make myself a job out of going to all of these different district family nights and seeing what you can learn about other cultures and communities. Is that a job I'm
applying right now?
I don't think it's a real job. So, Marcy, you're up, and we have many of the same questions that we'd like to ask you. So, how do you make sure that all youth feel welcomed and included in your program and in your context?
We are a very SEL heavy district. Anchorage School District was actually one of the first districts to pioneer SEL lessons and in our curriculum throughout the day. So SEL is just really, we just breathe it. It's in every single interaction that we do. Every, staff to parent, staff to staff, staff to student, everywhere. It's just everywhere. And so it isn't, we're to the point as a district where we really don't do specific SEL lessons. It just is. It's just in every single breath that you take and interaction with everyone. And so doing a warm welcome, having, and learning, I think, that with the student. So learning that kid prefers a fist bump to a handshake, or that kid wants a high five, or, so I think learning the ins and outs of each kiddo, I think, is really important. I cannot stress this enough, but it is really important that you know how to pronounce the kids' names, and not use nicknames, and not use Americanized versions of the names. But if you could call the kid by their name, that just goes so far. That is really a beautiful thing.
You guys are right. You're aware everybody needs using it in day.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's goals for so many of us.
Goals. Yeah, I know. And it can be rough, but just be persistent, persevere, do it. I believe in you.
Yeah. No, I think that could be a topic for a whole nother webinar, but
right now.
But we want to ask you a little bit about the types of activities that you do with your youth, and then how do your staff support multilingual youth during those activities? What does it look like?
So because we're a school district, we have the amazing opportunity of having academic interventions with our youth. I know some of the community-based organizations and faith-based, maybe they don't have quite that relationship, but because we're a district, we have an opportunity to recapture some learning loss. So we capitalize on that. And one of the ways that we have two ways that I'm going to talk about, but one of the ways that we do that is we pre-teach our math concepts to our students the day before in after school program. And then the next day they get the formal lesson with their school day teacher. This has been a game changer for us. It is the same amount of prep, planning, time for that same 20-minute intervention that most people do as remediation in the form of homework help. For us to do that ahead of time, it just changes the way the student feels about themselves in that subject like no other. So I'm just going to use a scenario. I'm just going to give an example here. So let's say that Manuel is a first grader, and he doesn't know how much a dollar is worth, and the coins look really similar to him. So for Manuel, the current intervention would be that he has one-on-one, review of that information, and we talk through with him what the values of each coin are. In the worst case scenario, he doesn't get it. Best case, he understands, but he understands what the other children in class understood a few days ago. Either way, he knows that he's not up to par with the classmates, and that he is in need of remediation, right? And really nothing can convince him otherwise that he is behind and not very good at math, right? So if we do this in after school the day before any of the other students get their lesson, it's the same 20 minutes. We go through the values of the coins, but the kids in the class haven't had that lesson yet, right? So we say that we're doing a preview. And the kids, kids are kids. They love to have a secret. And so they love to have the information before anybody else in class, right? And they love to be in the know. And so to have this like little secret spy access to what the kids are going to get the next day, they feel important, right? So then when they get to class the next day, Manuel's the first one with his hand up, right? And he knows the vocabulary, and he knows the coin values, and he knows how to add all of the coins together to equal $1. He knows all of this before any of the other kids in class do. And he is one of the first students to finish the game with the coins. And he becomes the mentor to the other students in class to teach them. So then you've got some delicious peer-to-peer mentoring going on, and right? So this has been for us a total game changer and a very SEL focused approach on pre-teaching, right? And the empowerment that this has given to students like Manuel has just been mind-boggling. It's just, it's unbelievable to have a tier 2 student. If you're using the MTSS framework, you have a tier 2 who is struggling, and then they may be peer mentoring a tier 1, right? That is just beautiful, just gorgeous. The other thing that we do in after school program is we are pretty heavily STEM focused along with our math, and we do robotics and coding. We have a partnership with Lego Education, and a lot of robotics is pictorial instruction, which is fantastic for English learners. They don't need to have access to a specific language in order to follow instructions. They can follow with the picture, and such a relief to be instantly successful in something that the other kids might be struggling with, just because there's no, it really disables the need for language or one language. So one is the pre-teaching math, which math is a universal language. And then the other is robotics, which is pictorial instruction. So.
And I'll pitch, and that pictorial instruction can accelerate English language learning skills. So if you would like to learn more about accelerating learning, I was not planning on giving this pitch, Marcy, but you've just opened the door for me to. Chaz and someone else from our team, Brittany, will be at the 21st CCLC Summer Symposium talking about those two strategies and more to accelerate learning recovery. So, Marcy, thank you for the promo, and we hope to see many of you at the Summer Symposium.
I'm going to quickly answer Miguel's question in the chat. He asked what our ratio is. So best practice for OST is anything lower than 15. We do a 1-to-12 ratio.
So we've talked a lot here engaging our MLL students, but what about their families? It can be challenging to engage families in programs, let alone engaging those who are themselves multi-language users and perhaps non-English, especially families who have immigrated or are of a migrant. This isn't their fault. The same challenges that we have with English-speaking families apply to immigrant and migrant families. However, we need to be mindful of their unique lived experiences and how this trust barriers with systems like the most important thing that we can do to
is really that continuing to support and engage them in the process, right?
Right, that's true.
Mm-hmm. So as we think about that a little bit, really, this can look like a couple of things. It can look like making sure that you have a strong understanding of what are the needs in the community, right? And how you can support them. It can mean things like understanding migrant rights in your community and what resources are available to those who are migratory in your community. It can mean understanding different states' laws or policies, at least a soft working understanding of those laws and policies that you can use to support this development. You may want to know a little bit about policies and procedures in your state around navigating immigration court or other things like that. It may also mean advocating for them in schools. You see, the thing is that oftentimes the out-of-school time programs that all of you are running are safe places for families. You've built that relationship, you've invested that time, and those same families may not feel confident going into school and asking a question or trying to figure out what this piece of paper that has my kids' test scores on it means. And so the things that you can do is become that support system for them in it and find ways to engage them in that process. And so we really encourage you to think about strategies like that, to find ways to continue to communicate and engage with families. Think about things like, is paper the best thing because they're not going to get whatever digital app you have? Or, Chaz, I know WhatsApp was what worked for my families when I was running programs, but that doesn't mean that's the answer for all of you in your context. And so we'd encourage you to use those resources like the one that Danielle mentioned, Talking Points, or others, to try and engage and communicate with families as much as possible. So we have some more questions around those things. The first one being or the first couple being for Maru, right? She's our family engagement specialist on this panel today. And this is our chance to hear a little bit more from you. So how do you engage those multilingual families that you're working with? And what does communication home look like in your program for them?
Okay. It is one of the ways that we use to engage the families is first of all, is to feel welcome. This is important. Then we have posting the different flags from their countries in our classrooms, in activities, so they can identify, oh, this is my flags. There is something in common that we have. They have my flag. I am from this country, and also I have some activities for the parents. This is the home country welcoming families. We have all these activities for them with different kind of food. Actually, we ask them if they have any dessert that they want to share with others. They can explain what kind of dessert is that. So not only they will learn about the new culture, but everybody will share about their own cultures. Even, for example, and it's funny, but I found out that even the same people in the same country, they have different traditions for the same country. So we invite everything to share what they have or what they can offer. We also have a display with bilingual books for parents and for the students, but for parents, we have a different kind of books, and getting the families to let us know their learning interesting. Sometimes they are interested in talents, skills, and strengths, and we try to build these classes for them. First, we have definitely GED for the parents and English classes. Everybody wants to learn English, and this is good for them because we are here in this country where the first language is English. So I try first to bring these resources for the families, and not only bring the teacher, but sometimes I visit their classes. I say hi or hello. I let them know that introduce in English. So it's little by little, it's step by step to try to make them feel confident in the language. I remember sometimes once that I was in the school, one of the schools, and I know that this parent was learning English, and she come and say, Miss Castañeda, will you help me to translate this to the office? It's because I need to talk about something about my child, but I know that they were learning English. I said, yes, come on, let's go. And I said, and I pushed her. I said, okay, let her know. And she turned to me and said, no, you will translate. No, you will start to talk to her. And she feels like, okay. And she, of course, she was nervous and everything, but she did it. So sometimes I've seen the parents need a push, just pushing a little bit, and they will do it. They can do it. So we work with parents like that. We made them feel comfortable. And I said, see, you did it. You can do it. Just encourage the adults. And By the way, I'm a GD teacher and I work with adults. So this is my work. Try to make confident to adults to just start learning something different. It's hard for adults to try to understand or to try to do something different. But when somebody is behind them, pushing them, hey, you can do it, they learn that they can do it and they believe that they can do it. So also we have a hosting social events where participate staff, families, and children, everybody. This is most of the time family events. And these events are to know each other. Okay, we introduce parents. This is your child's friend. This is her mom. This is his dad, or whatever. And something important is to try to keep in touch with them. So at the end, we said we asked them exactly in the survey. What is your preference to communicate with you? Email? How you feel more comfortable? Email, text message, interpreter? What do you prefer? And they decide what is the best way to communicate with them. Because if you don't try to keep this communication, they will leave. They will just say, okay, this event, it was funny, it was nice, but now what? Now, how can I keep working with the staff? How can I keep working with the teachers? Or in my case, how can I communicate with you to ask for some resources? And I am very open to actually, we have a text message from them, so that's perfect. And this is a very good point to communicate and just help the parents to feel comfortable, to let me know, for example, as a family engagement specialist, what do they need? They have a lot of needs, sometimes clothes, sometimes food, sometimes resources, sometimes school. So I am very open to talk to them and make them feel welcome anytime that they're looking for me.
No, Maru, that's exactly what I wanted to ask you a little bit more about now is we know that your program provides a really wide variety of resources to families. Mm-hmm. And we'd love to have you talk more about what some of these resources are and then how you identify them. Mm-hmm. And can you tell us, are all of the resources that you share things that are provided by the 21st CCLC programs?
Okay, what kind of resources? Sometimes, well, basically basic ESL classes, GED classes, computer classes. We have an organization. I'm very familiar with the resources in the Tarrant County. So I visited all these organizations. Sometimes we offer parent classes. They need to be sure, they need to connect it with their own families. And there are very good programs here in the Tarrant County that they are free. They offer classes to improve their skills for the parent as a parents. They offer in English and Spanish. Most of the time, everything what I have for them is in English and Spanish. And I offer English classes, ESL classes. We offer these discounts for some kind of companies. We also offer pantry food. If they need food or whatever, we can assist them with their help for the rent or the leasing or something that they need. We also have financial classes. We have we work with 3 different banks, which they offer these classes, and they also offer incentives. Like, for example, if they take the classes, they will receive a savings account with $200. I mean, this is an incentive. This is not a loan. This is an incentive for them. And also we have a gardening. They like to plant something in home. We have gardening, we have cooking, we have we also invite, I remember a barber, because I remember, and how do I know that? Because the surveys. Every time that they ask me, I said, what do you need? And I will bring it to you. So I remember once this man approached to me and said, Ms. Castañeda, I have three children. They are boys. And you don't know how much I spend to go and bring them to the barber. And I said, okay, do you think that you can bring us some people to teach us how to have a haircut? And they said, of course, let me see. And I get for this person, I bring it to the stylist and he teach them. And these ladies save a lot of money monthly for this activity. So, but how will I know that? Because the surveys, every event, believe me, every event, I ask how did they think about it, but also what is the next, what do you want for the next event? What do you tell me? Tell me what do you want, and I will bring it to you. So for me, it works. It works, and it works in my program, and they are guide me what exactly or what kind of resources I can bring them. And also, we have these little package. This is in the Tarrant County, and this is DAS Packet Resource Guide. So they are I just ask for tones, and every event I give them one of these. They put in the packet, and they have the main resources that they need. I have a lot of things to help the families. I also have, let me show you. I made those flyers. This is a triptych, and this is the flyers with my name and my picture, and this is to promote my my position. Okay, this is your family engagement. This is what I am. This is what I do. This is how to can contact me, and all the resources that we can offer them. I am. This is my marketing from myself, and just to help my parents and my families as best as I can.
Well, I wish I could send one of those little hearts that everybody else is sending on the screen, because I love that. But I want to say something again that Maru went by real quick, because I think it's really important. She went to every single one of those organizations and said, what resources do you have that I can share with my families? And now those resources are Maru's resources, right? You heard her say, I have this, and I have this, and I have this, and I have this. But they are partnerships with these other organizations in her community. And that's the key. Go, Maru.
Yeah, now, sometimes, there are meetings for all these organizations for promote the service that they are offering. And I remember in one of these meetings, I just sit down and everybody feel welcome, blah, blah, blah. And everybody was saying, okay, we will have this fair, we will have this event, we have this and this. And then when it was my turn and said, and what organization do you represent? I said, okay, I don't represent an organization, but you have the resources. Guess what? I have the families. And everybody bring me business card and bring me flyers and everything. And this is the purpose. I need to go and see what is outside to the district and see what they are offering to bring them to my families. I have here a stock with flyers with different, and each school has a stock with different flyers with the resources. So the parents know that when they go to the site coordinator's office, they will find out something that they will be interested on it. So I love my job. What can I say? And I try to serve as much as I can to my families and my students.
Yeah. We can tell you love your job. It's so obvious to us. So what would you recommend to other programs that want to better serve their multilingual families? What would you say this is what you should do?
My suggestion is try to be empathy with the people. Sometimes they have some, and again, some fears, some they don't feel comfortable. Sometimes when they see somebody in the staff, maybe because their previous experience, that counts, believe me. Mm-hmm. And sometimes because they don't feel comfortable. We need to be tolerant with them. We need to try to think. And somebody mentioned it that when you actually go to their new job, we are like a new person that try to adapt for a new community. This is exactly the same, but they have a disadvantage. They have a disadvantage that they don't speak the language. So we can just make, thanks God, we have these little stuff where they can say, okay, what did you say? They can just translate it. They try to make the short sentence to understand what they're looking for. And we can bring their children as a translators and help them they can maybe feel more comfortable if one of their children translate for us. But sometimes it's a tricky because when they try to translate, and we need to be sure and be knows that who is who. So, but yeah, we can use all the resources, the staff in the school. If you can or this language, please help me. Or even the parents, because we have in our schools, we have a parents who they speak other language that I don't know, but one of the parents was bilingual, their language, his language, and English. So he helped me to translate for this new family. So we need to look in what we have, what kind of resources we have in their school, in their own school. And we can looking for what kind of parents they are offering as a volunteer, as a translator, or help us to engage the families. Probably go with them in a meeting, translate for them in the classroom. I don't know, but we have to be tolerant with the parents and just love your work and be empathy with all these families who have this kind of the needs in the school.
Yeah. No, I mean, Maru, I used to have in one of my programs, I would have people who were what we called family champions, and they might be one person who's a language speaker of both English and another language, where we had a small group of families representative of that wasn't maybe the main language, where we had people on staff who would speak that language, and they could come kind of be champions for the other language speakers of that group. And they were people who volunteered to do that and engaged in those conversations and were safe people within those small communities. And so those kinds of things can be so meaningful.
Absolutely. Okay. I mean, that, in addition to your survey approach, which I love, it really makes sure that you're including family voice in every aspect of the program. So that intentional planning is so impactful, just like you were saying, to increase family engagement. Thank you so much, Maru.
No problem.
So let's take a moment to pivot to Marcy, and let's ask her a couple more questions about her programs and the many, many languages that go on up in Alaska. So, Marcy, how do you engage with multilingual families, and what does communication home look in a district where there are that many languages?
So permission slips are a beast, that's for sure. We are fortunate that we have an English learners department and a newcomers office. So we have a dedicated office for all of our refugee families in the district office. And we have, I think, 4 dedicated liaisons. So I think we have a Samoan, Hmong, Spanish, and Russian, I think, are the ones that we have. And so those 4 people are on staff specifically to liaison between a new family that speaks that language at home, and how to navigate the district, and how to do parent teacher conferences, and how do you help your kid with homework, and all the things, registration, and all the things, and what resources are available. So what Maru is doing as herself, as a one woman force to be reckoned with, we have an office that does all of that work with probably about 6 or 8 people that do the work that Maru does. We also are a large district. We have 47,000 students, so we're pretty big. Yeah, I mean, I think in lower 48, the districts are kind of broken up to be much smaller than that, but because we are separate, separate but equal, yeah, we have a logistics thing going on with Alaska. We're a little big, so yeah. So yeah, we're 47,000 students, which is a lot. That's a lot of kids. So many kids. So yes, we do have an English learners department, and then we also have um, phone interpreters. I think it's called Opti is our phone interpreter that you just call and, hey, I have a parent on the phone, or I have a parent here and I need an interpreter. And so that usually goes through pretty easily. Um, I guess I would just right here insert a pro tip. Don't use the kid as an interpreter.
I can't imagine why that might be a problem. So,
So,
Marcy, it sounds like you have a lot of multilingual professional support in your district. How
mhm.
did you come by that support? Did you have to, like, fight and claw and build that up, or was that something that was easy to get support?
It's been here for a really long time. We've been a refugee state and have had a lot of different languages for decades. And so it's just been here because of necessity. We do a lot of family engagement. So 21st century in our district is part of a Title I in terms of our internal org. And so because it's the same type of student. And so Title I has family engagement requirements, 21st century has family engagement requirements. And so we try to team up and do those together if possible. So each of our schools, I think, does 6 family engagement events a year at minimum. That's the minimum requirement is 6. Um, and all of those have a literacy night, a STEM night, a cultural night. Yeah, that's pretty common. I did want to say that it's really important to meet the families where they're at, and that different families, different cultures, different countries have different baggage, I'll use, regarding education, regarding institution, regarding children. And so, just as an example, we had an influx last year of students not only from Ukraine, but also from Afghanistan. And it was really interesting. I had my site coordinators have sort of like a briefing from the English learners department about the different students. And, a Ukrainian student, and I'm so oversimplifying and generalizing right now, but a Ukrainian student is largely upper middle class, speaks multiple languages, is educated, is pro education, and wants to be very embedded in their school system, right? Um, and then, and this is a sweeping generalization, of course, and the Afghan students who were coming in um, were largely uneducated, spoke one language, did not speak English, and there was a very large difference between gender and who was educated and who was not educated by gender. And then also what type of education the boys had received was largely religious education, right? So, coming in, just please meet the family and meet the student where they are, because you're an institution. You're providing, I mean, like it or not, you're providing childcare so that the family can work. You're providing meals. You're providing social services. You're providing a lot of things to this family, and be aware of that family's background coming to the table. What do they bring to the table? So just be cognizant and sensitive to that.
Yes,
Oh,
definitely.
I can't hear you, Chaz. Sorry.
So, Chaz, I think hopefully you can hear me, but so Chaz was saying like how important it is to have families and family engagement and really bring that empathy to the place that they are, because that's what's going to help create that welcoming environment and really even then create the opportunity for the next thing, right? For that learning, for that growth, for the resources, because of coming with empathy and humility.
Yeah. I think 99.9% of parents want better for their children, right? That's a universal thing. Everybody wants their children to have better than they had. And they may not have any frame of reference for an institution being positive.
Mm-hmm.
Or for education to be positive, they might not have any frame of reference for that. So just be aware of that.
Absolutely. Can you hear me now? Just checking. All right, great. So it sounds like you are your state is a pioneer in making sure that you're serving multilingual learners and immigrant populations. And it sounds like that's something that a lot of other states are just challenges that they're just now starting to face. So what would you recommend to other programs that want to better serve populations like that?
Well, I know for us, we really appreciate working with our state authorities who are coming in, and who's coming in, when are they coming in, what are they coming into, what is the job market, what are the hoops they have to jump through in order to obtain employment, in order to obtain education, what resources are in place to help these families navigate. I think that's really important. We have an organization here, Catholic Social Services, that does a lot of refugee work, and they serve as liaisons to the families and will help them get set up and help them navigate just starting a life here in America. So I would say, what are the state, federal, and local community-based organizations in your area that are already tasked in working with this population? So, and then joining them and saying, what can we do? How can we help? How do we make it easier? We have, for example, our parent agreement for 21st century that has been translated into 8 different languages for us. We just took the top 2 or 3 languages in our schools of most people, but I can get that translated into any language. So I would say that, who are you working with, and what are their challenges? What hasn't been set up yet? If you're a school district like we are, I would bet that education hasn't been set up if you're coming to them. So how do you make that lift a little lighter?
That is some helpful perspective. Thank you very much for sharing.
Yeah. I will give you a couple of years old, so I wish I had my fact checked on this, but Catholic Charities and Lutheran Social Services are the top 2 providers for refugees in our country. And so if you look to see where there's a branch of one of those in your community, that may be a great starting place. But like I said, that knowledge is a little old, so you might want to fact check me on that one. But they would be still good starting places. That said, some of what we've talked about so far today could be a little polarizing. Across the U.S., there are all kinds of different opinions and feelings when it comes to working with immigrant and migrant communities. As 21st CCLC programs seek to improve academic and life outcomes for youth, it's important to separate our personal feelings, opinions, judgments from our students and their families within those communities. We need to work to identify our own implicit biases and understand how they impact our programs. And we really need to do the same with our staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also hold the responsibility to create a safe welcoming program environment for everyone. And this means taking the time to teach tolerance. When issues arise in your programs that display bias, prejudice, and racism, we must address it in the moment. You can ask questions of those expressing prejudice, such as, well, what did you mean by that? Or why did you say that? We need to begin to understand the motivation behind the comments and the actions. It's important to remember that just as students' behavior is learned and is a form of communication, prejudice is also learned. And in many instances, repeated behaviors or statements they've seen or heard. You can begin to make a change by not only being a role model of acceptance and allyship, but intentionally incorporating lessons that teach acceptance and tolerance in our programs. We also need to help restore and heal the harm in moments done like that. So that's when restorative practices really come into play. Restorative practices incorporated into program culture can help cultivate an environment where issues can be addressed through a process of healing. These practices strengthen relationships between individuals and social communities. We'll dive into some of this with our guest Danielle, but for more on restorative practices, be sure to check out NTAC's free webinar series on the subject. Check out our website for more information.
So, Chaz, when issues like this arise in programs, it can be symptomatic of community trauma and evidence of trauma within our own programs even. We can support those experiencing community trauma by knowing the facts about what's going on and how it's impacting students in our program. So getting to know them again and their community can help lay the foundation of understanding to be able to rebuild, grow, and heal. All the while, we need to consider the impacts of conversations we have around potentially sensitive topics. Time and place will be key to the effectiveness of these lessons and interventions. And when things fall beyond our scope or capacity, we need to look for partnerships with organizations to provide social services or build a network to connect those in need to support within their community. These are challenging issues, and they're going to require courageous conversations and those restorative practices. A great resource to try is Learning for Justice's Speak Up at School: How to Respond to Everyday Prejudice and Bias. While developed for the school day context, many of the strategies and suggestions apply to the out-of-school space as well, and were referenced in the things we've shared around teaching tolerance. The link is in the chat box for you. And so now let's talk a little more with Danielle.
Absolutely. Let's check in with Danielle to talk about some allyship and how to incorporate restorative practices. So Danielle, tell us about your program and the youth that you serve.
So I am a first grade teacher, and I'm in an elementary school right now. We're K-5. We do have a big shift coming where we will have an upper elementary school where I will, starting next year, just be a K-3 school. But I work with first grade. My district is in Huntington Valley, which is right outside of Philadelphia. We border Philadelphia. So like I said before, my population of students, about 52% of students do, they have a language other than English, either that they speak or in the household. And we have 44 different languages in my district. So I'm working with the littles, I'm working with the first graders. So my goal is always to try to not so much teach these things, but just infuse the different things that we want them to learn. We want to be a part of them when these different issues do arise with prejudice and things like that.
Absolutely. And starting young is so valuable when you're teaching those things. So how are restorative practices being incorporated in your district?
Restorative practices are part of our daily schedule. So every grade has a block where we need to be doing a morning meeting. And the morning meetings, they're so important. This is the time where we take a moment for all the students to greet each other. We have some either a topic to share about, or it might be something that comes up. And it's a time for the students to talk, to build those connections and answer a question and say, oh, that's like me too. Or, oh, that's kind of different from the way I see it. But still valid. And then these can also be used a lot of times. We have the morning meeting, but we can also have, we call them classroom meetings, which are outside of that morning time, and they might address certain issues where something might arise, and we say, all right, we're gonna have a classroom meeting, and it could be something from, somebody said something to another student and it made them feel upset, or maybe a bullying situation, but it is a way for us to discuss it as a class, and we kind of brainstorm, or we brainstorm and we solve the problems together. And it works for our last classroom meetings were about the bathrooms were really not being taken care of. And it came from administration. They said, please have a classroom meeting. We want it school-wide, talk to your kids about how they're treating the bathroom, how they're leaving it, and problem stopped. It was pretty incredible. They really checked in. They said, did you have your meetings? Okay, let's see how it is. And when I tell you, it's just very it's really effective in dealing with problems, with concerns, or building those relationships.
That's awesome. And that sounds impactful in a very important way.
I'll just tell you that elementary school educators across the 21st CCLC network are nodding their heads because I've had those conversations.
Oh, so many times.
It's not special to your school district.
It's a challenge that many schools share, sadly. So tell us a little bit about allyship. How are you developing allyship within your district?
One thing the district has done this past year is we adopted a social emotional learning program, which I know Marcy spoke about that. And it is, I think it is the most important thing that districts can be doing right now, because there is a need for it. We have a need for it in so many ways, whether it's socialization with the children and just communication skills and things like that. So I've seen a huge impact with it. But one of the most important things about the social emotional program that I think is really helping to develop allyship is we teach about empathy. And it really is, that is not a skill. That's not something that is innate. A lot of times it needs to be explicitly taught how to be empathetic and how to be able to understand how others are feeling. And we do that in this program. But we also teach students to be bystanders. To not be bystanders, to be upstanders, to speak out when they see some kind of injustice, when they see somebody who's being hurt or bullied. And we teach them different ways to do that, whether they're comfortable with saying something in the moment. That's one way to do it. If not, you can go get another adult at a different time. You can talk to somebody privately, but it really gives kids the power to know that they have an influence. They can make a difference, and that that's what is expected of them. We don't sit back and we don't watch these injustices and we don't watch bullying happen. So that's been really powerful.
Absolutely. And that's also really impactful when it comes to interacting with the community too, right? Making sure that not just in school, but wherever we are, we, stand up and we make sure that we speak out against injustice when we see it. I know that particularly there are some community traumas that are impacting your district. So can you tell me a little bit more about that and how you're helping students and families that are being impacted?
So where I'm at, we do have a big influx of students throughout the year. And in the past couple of years, we've accepted a lot of Ukrainian refugees. In my classroom this past year, I had Israeli students and Palestinian students. So I know that even if they aren't feeling certain things on their level, there are things going on at home. There are things that are definitely impacting them day to day. So we have families in my district that are experiencing homelessness. We have poverty. So my role is really to be just a keen observer. I need to check in with the students as needed, see what I can do to help them, what we can do as a class to help. But it really is to get them to the right person to be able to help. So that's where our counselors come in. We have wonderful school counselors, and they always are the first person that our families will talk to when they enter the school. So they will they'll check in with the families and see, can they help them with healthcare enrollment, with food programs, and different services and things like that. And then also, I'm usually in close touch with the counselors to talk about, do we need to have some check-ins? Do we need to have some counseling sessions because of the things that are going on in their lives that might just be a little bit heavy for my little first graders to process.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Danielle. And so, Marcy, I have just a few more questions for you. And so my big one is, what do you do in your space to address instances of prejudice and to teach tolerance in your program?
Oh.
I know it's a heavy one.
Just a little question. Don't worry about it. It's just.
Oh goodness. I think that we talk about everyone having value and that everyone is equal. And I think as a district, we're very focused on equity. I think within 21st century, I don't know about you guys, but man, the mean girl thing has been rampant this year. I don't know what the heck
Yes,
is
always.
going on.
100%.
And it's so young. When we went to school, I'm 50, so excuse me if I'm speaking out of turn, but when I went to school, the mean girl stuff was high school. And it is second and third grade right now.
Yeah.
It is, and first, Danielle says, it is so crazy. It is crazy pants. The queen bee posturing, bullying, it is bad this year. And I think it's glorification of movies like Mean Girls. And I think it is access to TikTok and all the others and seeing little snippets of how older kids act, and then the younger kids just adopt that. But yeah, we have had lots of conversations, and as SEL focused as we are, it seems like there's a really big disconnect between what the students learn. Like there's a very big disconnect between theory and practice, right? So the kids can repeat and they know how they're supposed to be acting, right? They know. But when you talk with them one-on-one, or, like this girl and this girl, there's two kids, and you say, you need to stop bullying, they are aghast. They are completely shocked that the behavior that they were doing was bullying behavior. There is so much disconnect. They're like, no, that's just what I do. Also, because we are so diverse, we have a lot of families that are just enormous, where and yeah, lots of families. We have a really high American Samoan population, and so we could have 13 kids in one school from one family. And so they, when there's a situation, they'll be like, oh, but that's my brother or that's my cousin, and that's what we do at home. And then what do you do? It's like, okay, but that's not how we treat each other at school. That's that might be what you do at home, and I'll have a conversation with mom about that. But when you're at school, there's a certain level of behavior and decorum that is the expectation, right? So I think setting the expectation and what is that? What's the expectation for behavior, for voice level, for, all the things, right? What's the behavior expectation? What's your classroom management? But also, the talking with the kids about what it is that they're doing, they do not equate their behavior to a negative behavior like bullying. They totally don't get it.
Yeah.
So. And that's the perfect place, right, for those restorative practices, to have that conversation with those young people about how to move forward.
Asking those effective questions, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's been so much valuable information shared today, and we're starting to come to the end of our webinar. So on behalf of the 21st CCLC National Technical Assistance Center, I'd like to thank you all for joining us, especially our panelists, Maru, Marcy, and Danielle, for sharing your expertise and your experience with us. I mean, we could talk forever about this, but sadly, we just don't have that kind of time. And so I would like to encourage you to complete the feedback form and share any ideas or topics you'd like to see for future webinars. And as you do that, if you'd like to stay informed on the work that we're doing here at the 21st CCLC NTAC, you can email us or you can scan the QR codes on your screen to sign up and receive our newsletter. Or you can follow us on X or LinkedIn. So as we close our session today, I'd like to give a special thank you to my co-host and our guests for being so generous with their time. We couldn't have done this without you. Thanks one more time to our viewers for joining us.
Yeah, I echo Chaz's thanks. Danielle, Maru, Marcy, thank you so much for sharing your expertise, your willingness. I feel like we probably could have scheduled another hour and a half to continue to talk about this,
Absolutely.
But we are out of time for today. And so thank you all. Please take the feedback form, complete it to our audience. And it was a pleasure to be with you all.
Have a great day, everyone.